Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Time for another hard rock and metal update. I think there might be some punk in here too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but let's just jump into it. So, if you watch my best of 2020 album, my number one album was the third album from a band called Witch Hazel, called Pentecost, I believe was the name of the album. Uh, I had never heard their first two albums. I still haven't gotten their first album. It hasn't been released here in the U.S. on vinyl yet, but they did do a repress recently for their second album. In the same vein, I think the third one's a little bit better, but this one's still a fantastic album. But Witch Hazel, a little bit of epic metal there. Uh, just some of the masters, Trouble. These demos and rarities albums are fantastic. This is the second one that I finally ran across a copy of. I bought the first one when it came out, but I missed the second one for some reason. And just really killer. If you like Trouble, it's fantastic. The first one was a little earlier, a little rawer. This one is, does it say what year the stuff was from? No. But this is more a little mid-career. But Demos and Rarities Part 2, fantastic. Highly recommend grabbing that. It was done by High Roller, so you should still be able to find copies of this floating around. And High Roller always does a great job with their pressings. Next up, a tiny bit of an upgrade, and it was an upgrade by accident. I ran across this super clean, near mint German pressing of Blow Up Your Video. Not realizing that I already had a near mint German pressing of Blow Up Your Video. The difference was this one has a little bit nicer cover. The cover that I have has some creases and stuff in it. So that one will be going up on the trade block or getting sent out as a gift to somebody. But really cool to add to the collection again, I guess. Just rounding out this, I think this was the only Testament official release that I still needed. But this is the full Live at the Fillmore. And it's just Testament at their best. When was this? I don't even remember off the top of my head, but you got Souls of Black. Let's see if there's Low is on here. So this would have been in the 90s when this was pressed. Yeah, Apocalyptic City. Really killer to finally have the full show as opposed to just the EP with a few songs on it. Sodom, slowly rounded out my Sodom collection. Most of the Sodom stuff gets a limited press when it comes out, and then it disappears, and then the prices go through the roof. I was lucky to find this one because this one can get pricey for a reasonable price, but this is 2 albums ago, I believe, maybe 3 albums ago. But this is Epitome of Torture. It's just Sodom doing what Sodom does, man. These guys are just such a fantastic band. They're my favorite of the, don't get me wrong, I like Creator. But of the German thrash, the Teutonic thrash bands, Sodom's always been kind of a step ahead for me. A step above for me. Next up, Power Mad. I showed this. This was from not the most recent record show I went to, but from before. A promo copy of Power Mad's EP. If you guys haven't checked out Power Mad, highly recommend grabbing all of their albums. I don't have their newest album from a couple years ago. They disappeared for about 2 decades and then popped up with a new album 2 or 3 years ago. UK thrash, though. I believe they're from UK. You guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were a UK band. But just really killer thrash. Speaking of UK, Samson. Who did this one? Yeah, Rogan Music. They did a fantastic job on this. I forgot how good this album is, but this is Samson Shock Tactics. I had an original pressing of this, but it just wasn't a very good pressing. I think it was a first US pressing. And it just really bad sibilance. It just wasn't a good pressing, a good recording. And they really cleaned it up on this album. I forgot how good this album was, and how good Bruce Dickinson sounded on this one. Fantastic album. Yeah, Bruce was his name. But that had to be before the comic Bruce came out. I want to say he's younger than I am, or right around my age. You know, I could have got an original pressing of this for probably just a couple more bucks, but EMP did a repress of just a classic metal album from the late 80s. Was it the late 80s? This might have been the mid 80s when this one came out. Let's see if I can find it. There's so much writing on the back here, it's hard to see. I want to say it was 85 or 86 now that I think about it. So this was a 2018 repress. Yeah, it doesn't say. But Odin, Don't Take No for an Answer. Just a fantastic album. I've always loved this one. Not the best songwriting in the world, but just a really fun album. And like I said, I've always really dug it. Just traditional metal. So I put off buying these two for a long time. They were pressed to vinyl about, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago. And I picked them up, and I was happy with the two pressings that I got back then. They went back to the original cover for the first one, which I didn't like. I liked the repress from about 10 years ago with the blood on the cover. But you know, I didn't want to pay what they were going for from Retroactive Records, but Retroactive did a sale and I bought them, and man, they blow the original pressings away. But this is the second album from Tourniquet, Psychosurgery. It sounds amazing. I can't remember what color the vinyl is on these. They may be like splatter or something. I know it was colored vinyl though. Okay, yeah, this is so that's that one. And then of course the Tourniquet Debut, which is just I mean, both of these are just classic albums, but the Debut is just fantastic. Like I said, the repress from a few years ago has blood in the background coming off of it, and it looks really cool. I mean, it's called Stop the Bleeding, so it was just kind of a perfect cover for it. This one, they went back to the original cover, which is fine. And this one is, there you go, red and black splatter. So there you go. I don't know if these are still available on the Retroactive website, but I mean, Tourniquet is just an amazing thrash band. You know, they did these first few, I don't know who originally did them, who originally released them, but Rob Caldwell at Bombworks did a fantastic job remastering these. Retroactive just absolutely killed it on the represses, and highly recommend grabbing those ones from like 10 years ago go for $80-$90, and these are less than half the price, and just blow those other copies away, or those other pressings away. Next up, just in the mood for some classics. I ran across this is this a German pressing? Yeah, an original German pressing, Love Hunter. Just a classic album. I've got 3 or 4, maybe more than that. Original German and UK pressings of Whitesnake in the inbox over there. I ran across a nice grouping, and I was just in the mood for I love this album. There's not a bad song on here in my opinion. Just a classic. Next up, speaking of, I did mention there was a punk album. It was this one. So I didn't know what to expect from this. And I was completely floored. So this is an Atlanta punk band. I didn't know that this was a punk band. The reason I bought it is because William Duvall, the current lead singer from Alice in Chains, was in the band. I thought he was the vocalist. He's actually the guitarist in this band. This is the 2 7-inches that were released by the band Neon Christ, and they call it 1984 because that's the year that the demo, or both 7-inches came out. This is fantastic. This is a really killer punk from 1984. I was blown away. I didn't know what to expect. I was expecting more of him trying to do the alternative rock sound. Obviously, I didn't even think about the name 1984. You know, it would have sounded a lot different. But I've seen this in stores since for like $15-$16. If you like old school punk, I highly recommend grabbing that one. It's a fantastic album. Next up, this is a really cool find at one of my local stores. Thin Lizzy, the Japanese compilation album. It is just that. Unfortunately, it didn't have the Obi, but other than that, it's in near mint condition. And I love Thin Lizzy. So definitely a cool piece to add to the collection. Next up, Witherfall. This is one of those bands that I've talked about them a couple times before. I heard their newest album and had to go and buy everything that they've released. This is Nocturns and Requiems. Power metal with a little bit of thrash, with a little bit of traditional. I mean, it's perfect mix of sounds. They blend the sounds really good. Just a fantastic band. Highly recommend going online and checking these guys out. If you're into any of those sounds, you're going to dig them. But Witherfall. Next up, just a classic album. I was super stoked when they announced this is going to get repressed. Unfortunately, they just threw it together. They didn't even try. The album art looks terrible. This is one of the limited pressings on. I think it's silver vinyl. It was like one of 200. But this is Resurrection from Halford. I love pretty much everything that Rob Halford did when he left Judas Priest. I love the Halford albums. I love the Fight albums. It was just such good stuff that he was doing. Roy Z was on this one. Roy Z produced it and just killed it. They did a great job with the pressing. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can see it. The artwork just looks terrible. I should have pulled out the CD. It may look bad on the CD too. I don't remember it being this fuzzy though. They didn't even try, but still, it's fantastic to finally have that on vinyl. I would love to see the rest of the Halford stuff, and hopefully, I mean, they've done that. They've done the first two Fight albums, so hopefully we get the rest of it too. Next up, just picked this one up. Frolic Through the Park. I've had this on tape forever. I've had this on CD forever. I'm actually going to see them next Tuesday or next Wednesday. They are playing with Testament and Exodus, and I'm going to go see them. But Death Angel, Frolic Through the Park, just a classic. What's funny is I bought this for $30. This is the white vinyl pressing, I think. And then I went back to the store 2 weeks later, and they had the same one for like $49.99 or $50. I don't know why that one, they jacked the price up, but glad I found it when it was still reasonably priced. Actually, speaking of who I'm going to see next week, we got the newest one from Exodus. I wasn't a big fan of their last album, but I love the album before it. I really think they came back with this album, and actually I'm going to spin this one again when I'm done with this video. But this is their 2021 release, Persona Non Grata. This one took forever. I think this one was released on record like 7 months after the CD came out. It was something crazy. Everybody was telling me how great it was, but I had pre-ordered the album and I wanted to wait. Fantastic. And like I said, I am going to listen to this as soon as we're done with the video. Next up, we're finally seeing some the early Bride albums reissued. Just an amazing band. Show No Mercy. I actually have an original of this one. Again, I believe Rob Caldwell. It doesn't say. I'm not sure if Rob Caldwell did this one, but another fantastic release from Retroactive. You can't go wrong with the first any of the. I shouldn't say any of the Bride. They went kind of crazy during the 90s. But any of the 80s Brides albums are just absolutely fantastic. And the last album that they did 2 years ago, additionally, is also a great album. So this is an interesting one. So I had originally heard that it was the original lineup. It turns out it's not. It's only Carol. What's his name? Carol. It's going to drive me nuts. The guitar player from White Cross. I don't know why his name is not coming. Rex Carroll. I was thinking Pete Carroll. I knew it wasn't Pete Carroll. White Cross has always been a band close to my heart. My very first metal show, and I believe 87, it may have been 88, was White Cross. This is Fierce Heart was his his metal band before he became a Christian, and he may have been a Christian, but it wasn't a Christian metal band. It was just a straight metal band. The first Fierce Heart album was great. It was from like '85. You can still find it for relatively cheap, under $20 or right at $20. You can find a really nice copy, and I recommend it. And then of course he did White Cross, and then he's done a couple. He did the Rex Carroll band. There was another one in there somewhere. He did Revival, and then he got back to, or he decided to put this album out again. This is secular music. This is not a Christian album. And it's really good to hear Rex Carroll just killing it on guitar again. Again, he's the only one from the original Fierce Heart. It's a totally new band. This is a fantastic album, though. Highly recommend checking this one out. Next up, Deliverance. Man, I've got a whole stack of. Okay, that's it for the retroactive. So what this one is. Oh, I wish I remembered the name of the original album. Hang on. I got it right here somewhere. There it is. So the original album from Deliverance was called Camelot and Smithereens. This is kind of their metal sound. This was not their thrash era. This was their metal sound with Jimmy Brown. Jimmy Brown has an amazing singing voice. It's very reminiscent of David Bowie, and I've always loved the metal albums where he uses his regular singing voice. It sounds fantastic. If you like, it is just that. It's heavy metal with David Bowie singing is what it is. And I say that in all the right ways. It's just fantastic. But the original albums, what did I just say? Smithereens, Camelot and Smithereens. So it was a concept album. He wanted to have some like news edits mixed in between the songs, and he wanted it to be a really nice concept. And the record label said no. So it's the same songs, but this was the original concept that they wanted to do, and this is re-recorded. It's not just, they didn't just take the old album and re-edit it. They redid the whole album. And man, this thing is so good. I always liked the original. I got a original pressing of the CD that I've had for years. They repressed it. They did this new pressing, and then they also repressed the original, which I haven't listened to yet. I was blown away by how good this was, though, and I've spun it a lot. Again, highly recommend getting this one. They also did a cassette release that was really limited. That may already be gone. But, I mean, it's Camelot 2021. Even though this came out in 2022, that's when they recorded it. And it was just kind of a labor of love type thing. And man, he absolutely kills it. Jimmy Brown blew this away. Again, highly recommend picking this one up as well. Next up, really happy to get this one. Place of Skulls. The Place of Skulls stuff. Actually, I have another Place of Skulls, right? I was just listening to this one as well. But the Place of Skulls stuff on vinyl is getting crazy expensive. And I was shocked to run across this in one of my local record stores. It usually has nothing good. It's the kind of record store where you go to. It's turned into a bootleg store. It used to be one of my favorite stores, but the guy... he just doesn't try to buy stuff. He just buys whatever comes in, fills it up with bootlegs. You occasionally find a decent $15 or $18 album there. But I was flipping through, and I couldn't believe that I found this. But this is the Love Through Blood 10-inch from Place of Skulls. Just fantastic. Let's see. This is a cool find. One of my local stores called Sunset Waterloo. For the last couple months has had a Japanese section. They've been buying a lot of Japanese stuff, and I've grabbed some really cool stuff. If you guys saw Scott Waters' VCLT video, I picked up a copy of Angel for him. I picked up some Led Zeppelin, some Pink Floyd, quite a few really cool Japanese pressings. This is one of them, man. This is just I don't like everything that this band released, but this is the debut. What was this one called? It's blocking the cover. No Parole for Rock and Roll, I think is what it was. No Parole from Rock and Roll from Alcatraz. Just a fantastic album. I had an original pressing of their first 4 or 5 albums for years. This is the only one that I really listened to. And they were all just kind of beat to shit from having them for so long. So I ended up selling those when I purged my collection just because of the condition. So it was really, really cool to find a near mint Japanese pressing. And this thing sounds great. Next up, if you've seen there's two bands I've been just kind of rounding out the collection for, Carcass and Crowbar. So really happy to get both of these in. Symphonies of Sickness, which I talked about, finally came in. This is one that I ordered like 5 months ago, and it just took forever to get here. Earache has been doing a fantastic job with these reissues. So we've got Symphony of Sickness, and then this one I was entering it online yesterday, and the price of this one's already gone to like $60-$70. But this is a Carcass and Godflesh. This is the BBC session, or the Peel Sessions. I love these Peel Sessions albums, but man, that guy, it's amazing how many bands are what they are because of John Peel. I don't know if there's a more influential person in modern rock and metal. I mean, Black Sabbath arguably would not be, we wouldn't know who they are without John Peel. You know, the only one that I was missing from Carcass was Swan Song, and I did finally get a copy of that. However, the copy sounded really bad, so I'm trying to work with the label to get it replaced. And then Crowbar, again, I've got one more. I have all of the Crowbars that are available on vinyl now. They really, really need to release Live Plus One. It blows my mind that that's never been pressed. This has always been my least favorite album. Whoever remastered it did a great job, though, man. I went back to it like 4 or 5 times in a row. I was just blown away by how good this sounds compared to the original CD pressing. It's still probably my least favorite of their albums, but it's not because it's bad. It's still a really good album, but this is Equilibrium. And then last but not least, I might have shown this one already, but I pulled it out and spun it again. I love Peter Steele. I love Carnivore. I had to get Retaliation when I saw that this repress was getting done. I don't know why they inverted or changed the artwork. The original artwork was really cool with the guy in the gas mask and the missiles in the background. It takes me back to the late 80s when we were in Germany. I remember my dad wearing these old school gas masks with his helmet when they had to do drills and stuff. We would do nuclear drills there. And just an amazing album. If you guys haven't checked out Carnivore, if you're a Peter Steele fan, most people know him from Typo Negative, but man, just the two thrash albums he did are fantastic. That's it, guys. I hope everybody's good. Take care, and I'll see you soon, BC.